All right, ladies and gentlemen, today you're lucky. We're going to go all the way up to Canada where it's already snowed twice where this gentleman works. Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. You're going to meet a young man who's been in the business, does 75 transactions a year and doesn't work evenings or weekends and doesn't even show properties anymore. He's going to tell you how he got there. Coming up next, Chris Molenaar right here on Cliff's Notes. Real estate agents, are you struggling with the day-to-day grind, dialing for dollars, putting in hours of floor time with little to show for it? Are you looking for tips, tricks, and tactics to accelerate your career as an agent that will have you closing more homes, working with more clients, and earning more money than ever before? Hi, my name's Cliff Freeman, and I've spent the past 2 decades of my real estate career running one of the top brokerages in DFW and personally coaching over 1,000 high-performing real estate professionals across North America. I created this podcast to share the strategies and tactics you need to explode your real estate business. I guarantee it. We're talking explode your business today, right? And especially to all our friends up in Canada. You know, it's been a while since we've been up there, C3.
Too long, I'd say. I think we need to make a trip.
It is. And when we were talking before the show and Chris mentioned snowboarding, I know your favorite thing.
Snowboarding
you're
is
actually,
on the list.
Yeah,
yes,
you're going
headed there next week.
I'm going to Denver this coming week, and then you're going the next week and hang out with Colton.
Yeah,
right?
We're going to go do a little backpacking, a little golf. A little snowboarding. Going to be fun.
Snowboarding on the golf course. That sounds great.
Well, we'll see.
Just in the sand traps, right?
Right, exactly.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Sounds good. All right, real quick before we bring Chris in. Trelvis, man, this is one heck of a World Series. What's going on, man?
You know what? I've never rooted for Houston a day in my life, but I am rooting for them to pull it out. I think they can still do it.
That was some no-hitter, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I mean, it was a combined no-hitter.
Yeah,
the guy got pulled.
That's right. Yeah.
So it was a
group
double effort.
Yeah, group effort.
Still, who would have expected that after getting their
they got
butt spanked?
Yeah, 7-0.
Yeah.
Hey man, go Houston.
Yeah.
Go
Let's
Astros.
go. And it's a bye week this week too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, no Cowboys game.
Oh wow. Okay, so we can't talk Cowboys, but
No.
we can talk.
Real estate.
We can talk real estate
Yes.
right now. Let's bring Chris in all the way from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Chris, how the heck are you, sir? It's great to see you. Welcome to the show.
I am doing very well, thanks. Very excited to be here. And yes, it did snow last night, which it's melting. It's a little early for snow, but I guess we got to get used to it. It's going to get a lot colder.
Yeah. Now, just for those of us who are geographically challenged, like I am, you're sort of due north from Montana, right? Just about in that area?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're sort of north of North Dakota type of thing.
And how far north are you from the border?
Oh, man, probably an 8-hour drive.
Oh, my gosh.
So he's in the tundra almost.
So,
Are you closer to the North Pole than you are the U.S.?
You know, so here's the funny thing. The province of Saskatchewan is twice the size of Texas with a total population of 1 million people.
Wow. And half of them are polar bears.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So what do you guys do for fun up there? I mean, obviously in the summertime, I'm sure the outdoor activities are great.
Tremendous, yeah.
But I think you mentioned you snowboard, obviously. So you have the typical winter activities up there and ice fishing and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, actually, Saskatchewan is big for fishing. Snowmobiling, snowboarding is popular around here. I grew up in the Rocky Mountains, so I miss the mountains. I'm right here in the middle of the bald prairie, and I always joke and I say, this is such a great place to travel from. And I say that half sarcastically, but I mean, there is a lot of great opportunity here. It's a very affordable place to live. And I think the job market is also, really good here in Saskatoon as well.
Yeah. So what's the primary economy there? Are you guys in the energy business or what sort of drives things?
Our province is actually quite diverse. We have uranium, potash, farming, oil, and then I would say just other industries. But those are the main ones.
I forgot pot's legal in Canada, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys have plenty of pot up there. Oh, potash is what he said, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, but it is legal in Canada. Pot is legal in Canada too. Yes, this is true.
I promise it's not here. I didn't take a gummy before the show. I promise.
Yeah,
All right.
no.
Well, interesting. And you said the population of Saskatoon, the whole province is 1 million. How many people live in your area?
Yeah, it's interesting. So there's 220,000 people in Saskatoon approximately.
Uh-huh.
And there's probably only about 600 agents in my local market as well, which has been a little bit of a challenge growing my organization at EXP too.
I see. Okay. Now, help me out here. Okay, so you left the Rocky Mountains. Did you have like an unpaid traffic ticket when you were driving through Saskatoon you had to go take care of, and they just made you stay there? What was the compelling thing to get you to move there?
You know what? It's funny because I was 19 years old at the time. And it was, long story short, it was one girl that brought me here and a different girl that keeps me here. But if people ask me, I can't just say, I moved here for Saskatchewan women. That doesn't sound right. But that's the long story short. I established myself. I say I grew up in the Rocky Mountains, or I was born and raised in the Rocky Mountains, I say, but I grew up in Saskatchewan. This is where I became a man. This is where I established myself. And so Saskatoon's home now. Home is where the heart is. I just want to make enough money so that this can be a temporary location for me.
Sure, a stepping stone to somewhere, perhaps. But you've got a beautiful wife. You've got 2 beautiful children that are what I believe 2 and 8.5 years old now.
Well, we have a 2.5-year-old and an 8-week-old. Yeah, so we got a brand newborn.
Oh, I misread that. Wow. Okay. Well, congratulations. Yeah, definitely congratulations. That is awesome. And so because of that, and because of the business you work in, you actually have got a pretty good thing going. You don't work weekends anymore. You don't work in the evenings, and nor do you show properties anymore. I'd like to dive into that with you at some point, because I think that's pretty much every realtor's dream, is to be able to manage their time like you do, and still have that income off of 75 deals. That's a lot of deals. Yeah, sure is. Yeah. But why don't if you don't mind, let's rewind some tape here and talk a little bit about, you said you were 19 when you moved there. How long have you been in real estate now, Chris?
So this is my 10th year in real estate now. And yeah, it was a slow start for me, actually. When I first got into real estate, I came from a trades family, so my dad is a millwright. I have 3 brothers. One is a forklift operator, one is a plumber pipe fitter, and the other is a journeyman mechanic. And then my twin sister married a truck driver. So I'm the only one so far that has broken out of that sort of work with the tools. And I know that I was the one in the family that was the non-mechanically inclined out of the bunch, but I was the first to get my trades ticket. I was a sheet metal worker prior to real estate, but I was the first and only to get out of the trades. But man, I was not an experienced salesperson. I didn't have any administrative skills when I started in real estate. Literally, I was ground zero, starting from scratch, and I didn't know anybody here locally when I started either. So it was a huge learning curve. And I honestly didn't. Are you still there?
Yeah. We're just looking at you right now.
So yeah, I didn't sell a house for the first 6 months that I was in real estate, and it wasn't due to lack of effort. It was due to some of the components of salesmanship that were missing when I first started. But then finally, I had a breakthrough, and I sold like 15 houses in the following 3 months. And I made more money in those 3 months than I did the previous year at my other job, and paid off all my debts that I'd accumulated over those 6 months. And my wife and I went overseas to Europe for close to a month while we were engaged. And we went once every single year. We would go for 3 to 6 weeks touring around different countries. And we did so until COVID, until we had kids. And I think we've been to 37 different countries now. So that's a little bit of my story starting out in real estate so far.
You've run out of pages on your passport, huh? That's quite interesting. Well, so what was it, sheet metal and real estate? You're right. There's really not a whole lot in common there. What was the Was there somebody that encouraged you to go into real estate? Did you have a friend that was doing really well? Why real estate?
So I was a 20-year-old kid, and I was a first-year sheet metal worker, and I met a girl who had 2 college degrees, owned her own condo, and was a farmer's daughter. She was well set up. So I had to sell her on this dream, Cliff. And so, hey, I can be whatever I want to be. And she says, great. She calls my bluff. She takes me into the bookstore, into the business section, and says, start studying and get your butt to work. So I bought Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and sort of the rest is history. I started learning about real estate investing. I've probably read a book a week since then. It's totally changed my life in my sort of self-directed education, learning all the things that they don't teach you in traditional in traditional school, I should say. Yeah. And I just thought the best way to increase your income from a traditional 9-to-5 is to learn sales. And I'm like, I don't know how to sell. I don't have any product knowledge in any industry, so might as well go big.
Go big or go home. Yeah. I can't.
That was why real estate.
Yeah. I can't tell you, Chris, it's interesting. Of all the guests that we've had on the show, I would say that one book was probably the most mentioned, Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad, of others. There were others as well, but that one for sure stands out a lot. And if you're in the audience watching the show and you haven't read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, for crying out loud,
It's probably time.
It's time to get it and read it. It's timeless.
Evergreen.
Evergreen, yeah. And particularly in times like these, where you're new and you're all of a sudden you think you're on the edge of a cliff because rates are up and houses aren't selling like they were and prices are too high and et cetera, et cetera. It's always good to go back and remember why you decided to get into this business in the first place. And, can you believe, I bet 80% of the agents we have now have never been through a down cycle. It's been 12 years, right, since we've had one of those. And that's about when you got started, I guess, Chris, right? Now, let me ask this. Was the impact of the Great Recession, as we call it here in the States, was it as impactful in Canada as it was here? It was devastating here.
It definitely wasn't. I started in 2013 in real estate. And the funny thing is, here in Saskatoon, I know like Toronto and Vancouver, the market is a lot more cyclical. It goes way up, it goes way down, and there's a lot of foreign investment that drives those markets. So we get sort of caught in the middle where the average price when I started was around 340, 350. And then we had a steady decline because the potash market, uranium market globally was in a steady decline as it was with oil for a large number of years. There was a bit of a rise in prices in 2014, and then it was a steady decline basically until COVID. And then it's funny because the prices shot up a little bit at COVID. And now we're back up to 340, 350. And so it's like our real estate market is exactly the same as our landscape. It is flat and boring here in Saskatoon. But what I can say is it really doesn't matter what's happening in the market when it comes to making consistent sales in real estate, in my opinion. And that's what's enabled me to take control of my time, is knowing what activities gets what results and tracking your numbers well enough so that you know what income is coming, even though you can't see it yet. You know that if I talk to 500 people is going to result in X number of transactions. I know that if I contact my sphere of influence, I should be able to get this many transactions. If I talk to a for sale by owner, I should be able to get this many transactions. If I go networking to new networking events, depending on how many people I talk to, if I'm engaging in social media, etc. So it allows you to be in control of your time. If the market's up, if the market's down, people get divorced, people get married, people pass away, growing families, job transfers. There's always people moving in the resale market. So if you stay consistent with your activities, no matter what's happening in the market, you're going to have consistent income.
And that's the end of the show, right? No, that was a great soundbite, Chris. Really, I mean, you nailed it. You hit it on the head. If the agents who are watching the show will just go back and watch that last 30 seconds about 10 times, it'll change their lives. And it really is. You've got to have an internal locus of control. You've got to focus on your strengths and your weaknesses and forget about what's going on with interest rates and everything else. I mean, obviously that impacts your business, but it's not going to determine where you wind up. The only thing that determines, like yourself, no matter what happens in the market, it's your consistent, focused prospecting and time management and discipline that's going to get you through this. And, you know, we always say this, when these things happen, it's time to focus on market share. And let's, you know, because a rising tide is going to raise all ships. But if you're focused on market share, when the market does turn, boy, you're really going to have a lot of upside. So that was awesome. So how did you figure all this out? I mean, most people don't come to these kinds of high-level conclusions without a little bit of help. Have you ever done coaching with anyone?
Yes, and so part of what I say, I read a book every single week. And if I don't read a different book every week, then I will read the same book every week for weeks and months on end sometimes, depending on what book it is. But I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on coaching, personal development, seminars, etc. Some of the notable mentions are Dale Carnegie, because when I first started in real estate, I did not know how to communicate with people. I know Warren Buffett talks about Dale Carnegie, and it was make a huge difference for his career. And I can say if I didn't take the Dale Carnegie course, I wouldn't be able to communicate effectively well enough to become a top producing real estate agent. And I actually spent $3,000 on the course when I didn't have any money. And I came back to volunteer another 12 times, and it's a 12-week course. So not only was that a great way for me to learn communication skills, but it was one of the only aspects that I had to actually build relationships with people in my community, because I didn't know anybody when I first started in real estate. And that was a huge transition point for me. Then once I started making few sales, I decided to invest in Mike Ferry's sales training, which is, he's the oldest guy in the book when it comes to coaching and training real estate sales fundamentals. And then now in my business today, after going to, other seminars like Tony Robbins and Brendan Burchard and a lot of these people that teach online marketing and social media, I just apply, Mike Ferry sales training, the old school fundamentals to social media. You don't need to be a huge influencer online, but you definitely can talk to people through messenger apps in social media and make sure that you're connected with everybody in your sphere of influence on every single different platform, and then just share the knowledge that you've learned in real estate over the years publicly on social media, and business will continue to come to you. You don't have to work as hard to, physically do all the outreach and all the day-to-day grind, picking up the phone.
Pretty consistent with what we hear all the time, isn't it?
Yeah, and you do find a lot of, I think, there's a mass following of agents that like Mike Ferry up north. I noticed that he does do a lot of his training up there.
Sure,
yeah.
John Sy,
Yeah.
You
DK.
said Mike or Tom. I mean, the Ferries, the whole family is,
Yeah,
is wonderful.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's fair enough. And you continue to pour into yourself.
Yeah.
We always advise agents not to be hoarders. They've got to reinvest in
their money,
themselves, through self-development. And that would be a question I would ask our audience members. How much have you invested in yourself in the last year or two in self-development? Because that's what gets you where you want to be. Chris, talk a little bit about, I would imagine, I want to kind of break your business down a little bit and talk about what percentage of those 75 deals that you did, is that this year or for last year? It'll probably be, 75 this year? Is that reasonable?
I'll probably be closer to 60, 65 this year.
Okay.
Just because I've implemented some new systems for growing my organization. And of course, we've got the newborn baby.
Mm-hmm.
But last year to date was 75 transactions.
Okay.
But my business is definitely evolving now too. So I'm not in the grind as much.
Right. And so break it down in terms of how much of your business is repeat and past client, how much of it is new business. And then I want you to talk a little bit about how you're going after new leads in a small market of 220,000 people there.
Yeah. So I would say right now, my sales business is probably 90 to 95% repeat referral. And I would say that most of it drops into my direct messages through social media now as a result of putting content out consistently. So I do host a client event every single year to make sure that I'm in touch with these people. I also do a Christmas card every year. And then I've got systems that I use through KV Core to make sure that they get birthday text messages from me. And they're all connected with me on all my different social media accounts as well. So I try to leverage and automate as much as I possibly can to make sure I can get the same result with the least amount of effort. Because right now I'm just looking to, like I said before, totally take control of my time. I don't do a lot of cold lead prospecting like I did when I first started. My first and second year in real estate, I didn't know anybody. So I think 75% of my business the first year that I did 55 transactions was from for sale by owners. But I called for sale by owners for a year and a half, multiple times, every single one in my market. And I only listed 2 properties. One of them didn't sell, and one of them I had to discount my commission. But I finally listed 3 for sale by owners in one day, and that was the aha moment for me. And then all of a sudden, I was the for sale by owner king for a couple of years until my database was big enough that I could live on that. But then I reached a glass ceiling in my business because I learned how to be a good, strong solo agent. But in my market, the average commission is only $6,000. So I still couldn't afford to, take on any large amounts of overhead to build a traditional real estate team. Plus, I had to compete with 5 other strong brokers in my market with some 600 agents in my local market if I wanted to build a traditional real estate team. So it wasn't until EXP finally came to my market that I had an opportunity to build and scale and use leverage to grow outside of the typical top producing solo real estate agent hamster wheel. Because even with the traditional real estate team structure, there's obvious challenges with that. But I found that I was stuck doing 40, 50, 60 deals per year, and there wasn't a whole lot of opportunity to grow unless I wanted to work more hours or take on more risk, which wasn't in my wheelhouse. And when I found EXP, it wasn't even available in my market. I talked to AJ, who's my sponsor, and this was in 2017, back when I think he had only 80 realtors in his group at that time. And 2.5 years later, when it was available finally in my market, I was the first, in my market to join. I think AJ had 1,500 agents in his group by that time. And so I was really upset that I wasn't, taking part. But the opportunity is still just as good today. And we finally have, I would say, a really good footprint here in the province. We just reached 100 agents in Saskatchewan. My organization is at 94 agents. I'm in several different provinces. I have agents in Texas as well. And this time next year, we're going to have significant market share, and we're going to be the biggest brokerage in the province within a short number of months as well. So it's been a challenge, like I said, geographically, just because there's a limited number of agents locally to sort of network with and grow with when you're initially starting out. But then, of course, it picks up momentum. But the best part about this opportunity is you're not limited to your local market. So that's what's enabled me to build and grow and expand my business, beyond borders that I never would have been able to do at any other company.
Yeah, no, it's a wonderful thing. And, social media has become the great equalizer. It's broken down borders. It's made travel unnecessary. Think about Zoom. I remember when COVID hit, and it was really funny because agents with other brokerages in our area were trying to figure out what Zoom was and how it worked. And we had been doing business because we didn't have any offices, obviously, between the world and Zoom. We were used to that virtual world that we live in. And for us, that's what's enabled EXP to scale and grow as fast as it has. Is you don't have to wait on a franchise to open up. You don't have to build brick and mortar. I mean, you can scale at the speed of light here at EXP. And that's why, for example, you say you have agents in Texas. It'll just be a matter of time, Chris, before you have agents all over the world. I talk about the 6 degrees of separation a lot. And I'm sure you're familiar with that book, whereby the hypothesis there is that you're no further than 6 people from anybody in the world. And because we have 7 levels at EXP that you're going to receive compensation on, it is not likely, it is 100% probable, likely 100% that you're going to have people everywhere all over the planet. And when we get to 500,000 agents, globally here, your income is going to be coming from places, and I know you've been to 37 countries, but you're going to have money coming in from places you haven't been yet. So you better get that get that board out and start making a list of the places you and your wife and your kids are going to travel here in the future. You said something a minute ago, and I just can't get it out of my head. I've got to go back and ask you about this. You were saying that you prospected for sale by owners your first year, and you kind of sucked. You only got 2 your first year. And then in one day you got 3. What was it that you did that, was it a switch that you flipped? Was it a script that you changed? Was it a mindset? How did you go from sucking to being really good that fast?
It was the same thing. It was the same application for the fact that I didn't sell a house the first 6 months, but it was that 6 months of experience of me failing forward, so to speak, until finally, whatever was the missing key from all of everything else that I'd built over those, months and over a year and a half of calling for sale by owners, it was, I probably went on 60 or 80 listing presentations. And when I say listing presentation, I mean they listed with somebody else. And that was extremely, extremely painful. And towards the end of it, my presentation was polished. I was doing everything correctly. The one thing that was missing is I wasn't asking for the sale. I don't know why. I think maybe I was afraid of rejection, like a lot of us are. And I literally teed it up, educated them. They asked me questions that would typically lead towards a sale, but for whatever reason, I just walked out of the door without the listing. And the next agent would walk in and just slam dunk. I just basically gave it to the competition. And so it was a lot of really hard lessons I had to learn when I was first starting out. But finally, after getting beat up, I learned how to get it done. And I was just like, all right, it's time to get paid now, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying that. That is a what? That is, we call that a rider downer. Okay.
Persistence,
Yeah.
getting shut down appointment after appointment, crafting, working on your presentation and it getting better and better, and you're still not seeing results.
Yeah.
How did you figure out that you weren't asking for the sale? Was it somebody that was with you that helped mention that to you, or how did you self-discover that you weren't asking for the sale?
I think it was just the pain of not getting it, and then finally enough is enough, and you draw a line in the sand and you're saying, I'm going to get this next listing. It's just period, end of story, it's happening.
So it was almost kind of like a mindset shift as well.
Yeah, but I also think it's a matter of practice, right? Like you're not going to improve unless you practice. Like you can practice by yourself, you can practice with a partner, or you can practice on the public. And I think you always need to be doing all 3. But of course, practicing on the public is the most expensive, because when you don't get the listing, how much do you get paid for second place?
What are you talking
Right?
about? You say that all the time.
We always say, even doctors practice on dead people before they go practice on live people, because you got to get to a certain skill level, before
Right.
you can, go practice on live people. But at some point, you just got to get out there and get your nose punched in a few times, and then you learn. You learn by, bouncing off the walls, and you find out where your lane is, and you perfect things, and doing autopsies on your listing presentations. Where did I fail? What could I have done better? And so that's, but it's hard to do by yourself. That's why sometimes a coach can really be helpful to,
Sure.
to help see things that maybe, you don't see. Maybe you have a scotoma, because whenever we're in the heat of the battle, we're not always, consciously registering what we're doing right and wrong. We're just doing, right? We're just in the process of doing in the moment. But that's great. So I appreciate you saying, telling us that, giving us clarity on that.
Do you want to loop back to the kind of setup that he has with his real estate business? It can't just be Chris behind the scenes pulling all the levers and the switches.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Do you have any buyers agents that are on you have a team? I believe that's correct, right?
Yeah. So how are you getting away without working weekends and,
Right.
and nights?
Yeah. So I'm still always on call, right? I'm still distracted by my phone. So I'm just full disclosure on that, right? But I'm not actively out on appointments and stuff like that. I am with my family in the evenings and on weekends. But I do have 3 agents that actively work with me on the production side, but none of them are 100% in-house. They still run their own business. I still coach them on how to build and grow their own business, but we split deals that I basically feed through them. And so I've got a buyer's agent that works the majority of my buyers, and then I have another buyer's agent that I have on a split that I'll help, coach and train through some of the spillage. And then I have a listing partner who we split the deals, on the listing side as well. And so they basically manage transactions. I don't even negotiate contracts. I basically leverage as much of the process as I possibly can. All I do is lead generation, listing appointments every so often, marketing, and team building. So it's as streamlined as I can be at this level.
Thank you for clarifying on that. Question about prospecting for new leads and new business. How are you doing that? How are you going out? You talked about most of your business is past client and sphere. What are some of the strategies that you do in your area to generate more leads for your buyer's agents and for yourself?
Yeah, so basically, none of the teammates that I have are 100% solely in-house. So the lead generation for their business, I don't take responsibility for that. I encourage them and I inspire responsibility in themselves. And so, as I mentioned before, it was a bit of a curse to learn everything the hard way when I started in real estate. But it's been an absolute gift, now, because I feel like I could coach and teach and train any real estate agent, no matter where you're starting from in the beginning. You probably have more of a head start than what I did. And because I had to learn so many hard lessons along the way, no matter what your perspective is, I can give you pieces of knowledge to help you grow your own business. So to top them up on the difference, to help them have a full-time sales income, I help them build and grow their own business so that I want them to eventually outgrow me. I don't run a real estate team the same as a traditional real estate team would. I just have partners that I collaborate with to help streamline, my process.
Yeah.
Sounds familiar.
Sounds like the New Testament.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah. No, we talk about sort of jokingly about the new model, and it really is. The old model is, in order to move up, you had to move out. Here, we actually, encourage people to learn everything we know, and we go out and support them then when they leave our team. So I totally understand what you're saying. I mean, at EXP, we begin with the end in mind. I mean, that's, we want to make sure retention wise that our agents are, they have a reason to stay here and not be forced out in order to move up. So that's really awesome. I want to know a little bit about kind of your vision here, because we get a lot of EXP agents who just, I am surprised at how big they think and how big their vision is. Tell us a little bit about where you see your business and what you're doing in the next 5 years.
I know it's somehow hard to predict, especially when you look at, as an example, total organization size, just because it really depends on the players that you end up partnering with, and some of that's out of your control. So I know what my goals are as far as like personally bringing people in. I think that's what we need to focus on. But ultimately, what it comes down to is, once you're totally financially free beyond your wildest dreams, like what you guys have already done, at that point, it's a matter of becoming creative to level up every other area of your life to say, what do I want to do with my time? What do I want my family life to look like? What do I want my health to look like? You've built a financial fortress around yourself, but how can you add more strength to it so that you're not relying solely on one vehicle, right? And then what kind of legacy do you want to leave for the next generation? So when I think to the future, I think of, okay, I know for certain based on the path that I'm on that I'm going to be financially free beyond my wildest dreams. But 5 years, 10 years down the road, I'm going to have a 10-year-old and a 12-year-old. So what do I want their life to look like? And I struggle with that. I heard you talk on stage one time, Cliff. You're like, man, my kids aren't going to know what it was like, for me to struggle. And so, like, how do you create that struggle for your kids so that they still have to sort of learn things from scratch, right? That they're not given everything. And so, whenever I think to the future, when I think of vision, I think of my family and my kids. But I would say, man, I'm just getting to 100 agents now, and AJ's always said that the first 100 is the hardest, and you're not really in the game until you have 100. Now all of a sudden it's go time. So I'm really excited to see what the next year is going to look like. I think that if you're not, I want to at least be at minimum on pace to double every year of total group size, and I think I could beat that pace. That's that's all I can really say for long-term future growth and projections based on total group size. And then I think just, the money follows that. But like I said, it's been a gift and a curse learning everything the hard way, because now I have agents that are like 20 years old that are doing a deal a month. They've been in the business since April, that are paying their own way. Like, that is incredible to me. I'm just like, man, this kid has so much of a head start because he's got me, you know? And then, I've got agents who are starting in a market that they never were in before that did 8 transactions in their first 6 weeks, and to me, it's incredible. I've got part-time agents that have made 80 grand in their first year in real estate, working 15 hours a week. I'm just so proud of my teammates. I've got several teammates that are much more successful than me. And that's what happens with this company. You learn from the people that you partner with. And I don't know, man. I just think that it's a lot of fun. I'm really excited to be partnered with you guys. I'm really excited to be a part of this group. And it just gets better every day.
Well, Gene Frederick coined the phrase "making real estate fun again," and I got to tell you, at 58, I was ready to hang up the skates and look for something else to do. And I got introduced to Brent, and well, I knew Brent, but I'm introduced to the company through Brent. And when I was talking with Gene, I said, if it's fun, I think this could be something I'd be interested in. And sure enough, we got a hold of a tiger, and it's been a great ride, and for the last 6 years, and I know the next 6 and the next 6 and the next 6 are going to be equally as much fun. So I think you hit it spot on there. Wow, we've covered a lot of stuff here, Chris. Is there and in the audience, I mean, I'd have a full page of notes right now. I hope people are paying attention, because you've just been laying it down. What other pieces of advice? Is there 1 or 2 other pieces of advice that you could give? Because we know, look, let's face it, not everybody that gets into real estate is going to be successful, right?
It's just the truth.
I mean, you've talked a lot about the ones that you've mentored and coached who have done really well. We don't always talk about the ones that don't make it. And some people just don't want to do the grind. They just don't want to, they want to get creative before they learn the basics. They just don't have the commitment. They don't have the big why. What do you do? What do you say to people who are struggling right now? Here in this country, in the States, a little south of you, we're going into what potentially could be, the worst thing that's happened since 2008. How do you navigate those waters, man? What are you going to tell people?
You don't know where you stand if you don't track your numbers. You need to track your numbers, and that's more than just how much money do I have in my bank account. But if that's where you start, that's where you start. I don't have money in my bank account. I need to start prospecting. And the reason why agents fail in real estate is because, let's be honest, the bar is set pretty low in real estate. It's like, the fact that we are our own boss in real estate is the best thing, but it's also the worst thing, because we're sort of left to our own vices. So if you were working a 9 to 5, you would minimum need to be working 8 hours per day. And guess what? If you don't have any business, if you're a real estate agent full-time, you don't have any clients, you don't have any business, you don't have any appointments, there's no excuse why you can't talk to 20, 30, 40, 50 people that day on the phone looking for new business. And if you did that for a week or 2 weeks, guaranteed you'd have clients, leads, and appointments. And you'd have paychecks in short order too, no matter what's happening in the market.
Pick up the phone.
Do the work.
Make the phone call.
That's it.
Right. Yeah. Well, you said it. People get into the real estate business usually for
The wrong
3 reasons, right? They want to have their own business, they want to set their own schedule, and they want the promise of untold wealth. Well, they always get the first 2, but only about 10% of them or less
Probably less than 10%.
make it a career and can actually, create
Justify it.
wealth with it. Yeah. So interesting.
No, I'll add this thought. What I found, a lot of the most successful real estate agents were also active before somehow in some sort of extracurricular activity. If you know what it takes to get good at piano, if you know what it takes to get good at basketball or hockey or any extracurricular activity, then you know how to be successful in real estate. You got to put in the work. You got to practice on the court, off the court.
That's it.
There's the same fundamentals with everything. It's
Yeah.
a competitive business.
And when you think about it, that's a side hustle in high school, right? I mean, you're there for the academics. Your side hustle is sports or athletics or whatever. And if you can be the best, I always ask somebody, is there one thing in life that you've been the best at? Whether it's I was the best toilet cleaner and when I worked for the janitorial service at school, or I was the best. I helped my single mom feed her five kids, my brothers and whatever it was. If you were the best at something and you've had that taste of what it's like to be the best at something, then you're a good candidate to get into real estate.
Yeah, I've said this too for new partners, because funny thing is you never know who's going to be a big team builder at EXP when people first join, right? And so what I found is that people need to be hungry, which is something you can't teach. People need to be coachable, right? Because if you can't teach somebody, like a fool can work, a wise man can learn from a fool, but a fool can't learn from a wise man. But then on top of that, you also need to be open-minded, because we do things differently here, which is actually to a huge benefit. And if you see something that's not working well, all you need to do is talk to some of the leaders in our company, like yourself, Cliff, and you'll make sure that we change things to make sure that we can improve whatever area or aspect of our company, because we're building this plane as we fly it. There's always room for improvement, and we're always looking to, add value to what it is that we do.
Yeah. Well, Chris, we are super stoked to be in business with you and to have you as one of our partners, and we just really appreciate the heart that you have for the business and the heart that you have for the people that work with you. If there's somebody in the audience who's watching today and wanted to reach out to you directly, maybe has some questions about your business or maybe even about EXP, how's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, the easiest way is on Instagram. You can look me up, just my name, Chris Molenaar, on Instagram with 2 A's. It's a Dutch. And yeah, that's the easiest way to find me, just because my Facebook is getting a little bit full now. So reach out to me on Instagram. I'm active on TikTok as well, but I'm not as active on TikTok. So
Well,
you can find me on Instagram.
That's awesome. And I know you'll return each and every DM that you get. You're just that kind of guy. And, like I said, we're so thankful to have you in our group, and very blessed to have you on the show today to share. And thank you again for, pulling the curtains back, opening up and unpacking, yourself and your business. It's awesome for you to be, a collaborator, a giver, and we really appreciate that, Chris.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for having me on. It was a lot of fun.
Definitely. All right. And we're going to come snowboarding up there. That's not Whistler. Is it Banff? Is that the place? I forgot to ask Chris, but
Banff, yeah.
It's Banff, isn't it? That's where we need to go skiing.
That's
up in
an
that neck of the woods?
amazing spot.
Yeah?
So,
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely a bucket list.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited. I got to get on a plane and go to Denver this weekend. And unfortunately, I will be back next week. In
Aaron
fact,
Ryan.
I got Aaron Ryan. That's
Coming
right.
on.
The Aaron Ryan coming on the show.
Another
next
AA
week.
Ron,
Another
the
2 A's,
AA, yeah.
double A. Yep. Mr. Maybach himself.
Yes.
And boy, he's got agents in 13 states and is crushing it on the lead gen and lead conversion side. You're sure going to want to not miss that. And just one more time, I want to thank Chris Molenaar from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Boy, that's a mouthful, isn't it?
Sure enough.
Sure enough.
But
And,
we do guarantee it, though.
And we do guarantee it. Yes. Trelvis, thank you. We're going to take the Astros in 6. Okay.
That'll work.
Will that
I like
work?
that, yeah.
I
All
think
right.
that's a good deal.
Let's go Astros. All right.
Mattress Mac, baby.
Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, go reach out to Chris, talk to him, give us a like, give us a little thumbs up, a little love down there at the bottom, and we'll catch you next week right here on Cliff's Notes. All right, folks, tune in to Cliff's Notes every Thursday at 1 o'clock Central for the tips, tricks, and tactics to explode your business. I guarantee it.